Bolivia is one of the poorest countries in Latin America and it has the largest indigenous population who gain little benefit from globalization but affected by it the most. Climate change has become an acute issue for Bolivians. Indian glaciers melt rapidly, crops fail, Amazon suffers from floods, while desert lowlands experience drought. The historical precursors for today's environmental critical situation are rapid growth of population, global warming, capitalism, industrialization, and development of extractive industries. My research analyzes Bolivia's resistance to privatization of two main natural resources, water and gas, which fueled massive social movement to assert climate justice, environmental governance, human rights and citizenships. The water wars of 2000 and 2005 and the gas war of 2003 not only raised social consciousness, revealed environmental injustice and struggle for rights, but caused neoliberalism to fall, leading to having the political control in the hands of the indigenous people for the first time. The importance of the water and gas wars cannot be underestimated. It was not just a struggle for natural resources, it was a fight for a new type of democracy from below, a quest for political participation and indigenous citizenship. These social and environmental movements played a great role in bringing down the neoliberal government and the presidential election of Evo Morales, a socialist leader of the cocoa cultivation union and the first indigenous leader in the history of Bolivia. Bolivia has a culturally diverse and splintered society with clear distinctions between rural, urban, indigenous, and non-indigenous. For the indigenous people, it is very important to protect and preserve the environment because they're highly dependent on natural resources, which help them to self-sustain. However, global warming, progressive environmental shifts caused by extensive capitalism, extractive industries, and globalism undermine indigenous livelihood, communal life, and security of indigenous way of life, which is based on farming, fishing, gathering, and hunting activities. So the privatization of water and gas, as well as exploitation of natural resources, only benefited a tiny portion of the Bolivian society, the elites, and indigenous population suffered the most. Besides environmental injustice, racism towards indigenous Bolivians is expressed by allowing limited access to social services such as education, health, land, and labor market. Not only there is a lack in public investment in rural areas, but socioeconomic programs also neglect cultural identity, indigenous values, and worldviews. Therefore, it has been very essential for indigenous population to frequently mobilize and protest against economic liberalization policies and fight for nationalization of basic natural resources. Evo Morales was able to be the leading force in the United Nations Declaration of Water as a Human Right in 2013. Anti-capitalist Morales calls for sustainable development and urges the United Nations for a new environmental policy, which model shouldn't be based on the one that the Western imperialist countries have implemented so far. The Bolivians say they are poor men sitting on a golden throne. The country has vast mineral and natural resources span an area larger than Texas or California combined, but the indigenous culture offers a new expression of the sacrifice interdependent life, and it calls for a lot of justice movements in order to emphasize the significance and importance of vital part of their indigenous culture. Joint efforts between environmental activists of the global north and south are necessary, and there's also necessary to do the support by state for self-sustaining indigenous communities. There must be alternatives to fossil fuel energy developed that would not destroy the environment but reduce the negative effects, creating jobs and at the same time stimulating economy. The solutions at this point of time must be dynamic, elastic, and creative in their thinking, because the old solutions that were implemented before would not provide the necessary structural and technological environmental support to deal with the specifics of the Bolivian